Operation Thunderhead dispatches go!
Hi team, welcome to the Escape podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. This week we'll talk about the datacrons on Rishi and the secret achievements that go with them. We'll also cover the latest SWTOR news and the fun stuff going on in our guild, Alea Iacta Est. As usual, we have an astromech standing by to record and broadcast this show. Hey EPC 81, are you all set? Yes, there is an achievement for broadcasting from the escape pod out in space. One for you too. It's called At Least Max Didn't Turn Me into Scrap, so get moving. Hi Seema, how's it going and what have you been doing?
Poor EPC 81, that's his achievement that he gets, huh?
That was a little mean tonight, but that's all I had. Oh.
Things are going well with me. I've already had, well, all I'm going to have, one Manhattan. I had like just enough vermouth left to make one Manhattan, and that's what I did with it. So I need to go shopping for sure. This week in Ops, we have had, this week and next week actually, we're missing Makia and Dinesh, who went on vacation, which affects LOL, our raid team. It affects Soldiers of Light, SOL, and it affects Holy Sith. Because between all those three raid teams, Ops teams, either Makia or Dinesh is the raid leader. So it's quiet in Ops this week, but we did get some people volunteering to substitute for us on Thursday night. So we did our normal run through the Ravagers, which is really fun. And then our second normal night, which is Sunday night, we did not raid because of said vacations, but also because Max and I were on the AIE podcast. So we tried to schedule that when Maki would be out of town, and that worked really well. So we did that. Then also last week on Mandatory Fun Night, we went to Scum and Villainy, and we did it in story mode, and we started as close as we could to on time, and we actually made it all the way through to the end, because usually we make it to the last boss, but we run out of time before we can actually get Styrek down. So this was a good night for achievements for people who had never done the Styrek fight. And Max was tanking, which is fun. I like it when Max tanks. He was in the wrong cylinder part of the time, which makes it scarier for me, but that's fine.
Well,
that's what life is all about.
I tanked last over the weekend for the flashpoints, which I'll talk about that a little bit.
I like that we only did Styrek once because that fight itself takes about 10 years to do. So it was good that we got it in one try. And aside from that, it's still, snow and ice for me. We've had a couple of sunny days, which means water, which means ice. I'm still longing for spring. How about you, Max? What have you been up to?
So, as usual, similar things since we are on the same ops team. I've still, though, been doing a little bit of PvP on my Sork. In fact, I streamed a little bit of it. We've been streaming more. I think I talked about it last week just a little bit. We've been streaming mostly so that people in Guild can take a look and see what's going on, and some of our fun nights when they can't come along, or in for our ops team. So we have one of the ops teams that's doing some of the. We're almost through all of the story mode content. Well, we count it as on farm, even though we haven't done the Revan fight yet.
Yes, it's on farm for sure.
But it's fun to stream those so people can ride along. So I streamed a little bit of my Sork PvP, and I shouldn't have because that was terrible. We had our big GSF night. First Saturday of the month, we tried to get a lot of people. We had multiple squads flying. We even flew a couple of the squads head-to-head. That was pretty awesome. It was fun to go chase Sten and Sphyrix, who were on the other team, and DP Roberts. Major Debacle was on the other team too. And I was trying to hunt them down. They were trying to hunt me down while we were playing. I streamed a little bit of that too. I also have been gearing up, as Seema mentioned, I've been gearing up my power tech some, I've got a shared legacy set from my Power Tech and my Vanguard, and I want to relearn to tank. I've tanked in the past, but I haven't tanked in quite a while, and definitely not since 3.0. So I'm gonna I've got a complete set of 186. I need to augment it, and then I need to learn the new deal with tanking on Power Tech and Vanguard, and then I'll probably start using that sometimes on our Tuesday night runs because I keep making other people tank, and they have to switch tunes. So I tanked CZ198 and SEMA healed, and it was just, so it's just a tactical, so it wasn't really tanking. In fact, halfway through, I realized I didn't even switch my cylinder. I was in the wrong cylinder. So I'll figure that out. We did do our Thursday ops run, as SEMA said. We got to bring a couple people in because Makia's out of town, so that was fun. Thanks to those guys who were able to do that. Outside of game, I have been getting some running done. I still run every day. I'm up to like 430 days in a row still, but the temperatures are about up to 40 now, so I've finally been able to get outside some. So that is pretty cool.
I have a question for you about that, Max. What's the minimum amount of run that you do in a day to consider it not a missed day?
2 miles.
2 miles, okay.
Yep. 2 miles is minimum. So I have not
Gotcha.
done under 2 miles a day since January 1st of 2014.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I thought I'd throw it back in because a couple of people have asked about it. Book news. I did finish up Way of Kings and Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I finished those up a few weeks back. Those were good. I like them. It's good Brandon Sanderson stuff. It's interesting to see what he's doing in this series. It's sort of another new system of magic that he's into, and I like it. It's a good story. It's compelling. I like the characters. I'm now going through Wise Man's Fear, which is book 2 of Patrick Rothfuss's series called The Kingkiller Chronicles. I did book 1 a while back. I'm doing book 2 now. It was set up as 3 days. It was going to be he was going to talk for 3 days. And the first book was the first day of him telling the story. And now we're on the second day. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through the book. And this is not going to be 3 days because he's nowhere near. He's like, yeah. So I think this trilogy is going to end up being a long series, which is fine. Rothfuss is still fun to listen to. This story meanders a little bit. It's not as much as a lot of people would like on the main story arc, and so hopefully he'll get back to that more in the next book. But that's about it, and I think with that we can get into some actual news.
Continuing our coverage.
Now an Imperial News Network report.
We are getting patch 3.1.1 this week. Not on Tuesday, though. They say later in the week. Typically, in the past, that has meant Thursday, but we'll see what that means this week. Included in that patch is a lot of stuff. If you read through it, it's a long read. And they don't have it up yet on the patch notes page, but it is in the forums. You can find it in the dev tracker. There's a link to it. There's lots of bug fixes with stuff like decorations and the graphics of armor and stuff so that it doesn't stretch or do weird things during, toy movements or dances. Some fixes for hair. Most interesting to me, or maybe to us in general, are there some tuning on the flashpoints and on the operations. Like they reduced some stuff and made some stuff a little bit easier. So that to me is what people have been sort of clamoring for. So they've somewhat listened. We'll see how that turns out. Like for instance on Torque, which is a fight in the Ravagers, they have lowered his health on 16 man. So we'll see how that goes. They also have adjusted the drops for level 60 hard mode flashpoints. They're saying they now will drop MK2 gear instead of MK1 gear, which I believe is the same, sort of stat budget, but different secondary stats or in a different proportion. Also, they've made exonium and matter transubstantiators so that they can be put on the GTN. Before you could trade them, but you couldn't actually put them on the GTN, so will be able to do that now. The funniest note on there is something where they say customizing a character's body type while riding a mount no longer turns the player into that mount. So if you wanted to be turned into a mount, you better do it now.
Yeah, I please don't remove that. Now I want to go do it.
I
did
want to
not
be
get
my
a
mount.
chance to do that.
There's also a lot of class tuning and little changes in this um, patch. A lot of stuff. I mean, this is the one I made a note of because this is the one where unload and full auto are going to be restricted to mercenary and commando only. So, um, that's what I know. That's what bounty hunters in general have been looking forward. Probably not, but anyway. But so there's lots of tuning for vanguards and what is a bounty hunter? Um,
Sorry, I'm chatting with the chat room too, which
yeah,
we've never had before.
MK2 is lower endurance. Yeah, more other stats exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unload and full auto, mercenary and commando only.
Right.
And
Which,
yeah, lots of miscellaneous stuff.
so I I think that is because the damage was a little bit boosted too high on the Vanguard and the Power Tech when they were tanking. I'll have to figure it out though because it's in my, I'm trying to learn how to tank. And I'm
Yeah.
using full auto. I'm using unload. I don't know what I'm going to do instead.
I mean,
I
didn't
guess.
you also say that you felt it might be related to that they wanted the Vanguard to be, more clearly a melee class and not have
That
as
was one of my guesses. Other people have
yeah.
said otherwise, but that was one of my guesses. If it's a which is also a pain because having to get even more melee range and make sure you're within that 15 and then 10 and 5 for rocket punch and that kind of thing is it's fine, but you don't have a leap gap closer for Vanguard and Power Tech. So being able to have unload or something when you're out at range was nice, or when you had to run out for some reason. But as I said, I've switched back to my mercenary just because it was a pain to have to deal with that being in range like that. Let's see. Also in the news, Lana Benico has a news story, and I think this one was also written by Courtney again, and it's up on the official site. You can read Lana's site where she sings the Sith Acolyte Blues and tells her story about how hard it was back as a Sith Acolyte, and it's a little bit of a sad story actually. Bad stuff happens in the when they're out there trying to get through their trials. And who's the Sith trainer dude that you
That you love to hate.
Harkin or whatever?
Yeah.
She talks about him and how he's such an ass, which of course he is. So, but yeah, so that story is out there if you want to read. She did the one for Theron Shan, and now she's got the one for Lana sort of to match. So some backstory. So that's cool. In guild news, we are going to have another mandatory fun night this week. So mandatory fun night this week will be Rishi Datacrons, probably. We will talk about more about the Rishi Datacrons this week and how it may or may not actually work out. Because I've been working on it for a while now and have not even gotten past step 1. But we'll talk about what the steps are and what's interesting about it. Let's see. How about our ops team, Seema?
Well, let's see. They're all going strong. Like I mentioned before, we had 3 that were affected by vacations this week. But that really is nothing. Next week we'll be back to normal, or
Right.
after next week, yeah.
Just a little bit of a pause. It has been a little quiet in some of these evenings when I'm used to seeing the place being crowded with ops teams. Our guild, AIE, the overarching umbrella guild that we're part of that crosses many games, has a new website. That's been pretty exciting. So one of our other officers across a few other games, Cav, has done a great job on a bunch of redesign, collaborated with a bunch of the game divisions, including us. So if you go to aie-guild.org, you can see the new layout, and it's a work in progress. We're going to be adding and changing up the content. Each of the game divisions has their own landing page and some nice full bleed graphics behind it and that kind of thing. We're going to add things like a guild calendar that shows our weekly guild events to our page, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. We're gonna continue to tweak it, and it'll be much easier to tweak and update and have really a nice SWTOR space, and for each of our divisions a space for each of those games. So that is cool.
And I mean, also we mentioned before we're starting to do more and more streaming. So Max is streaming our Ops Nights, and that's on twitch.tv/new overlords. Usually Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern and Thursday at 9 o'clock Eastern, and then mandatory fun night on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, and we'll continue to do that again, mostly so that anyone who can't make it could tune in and check it out a little bit. But if anyone outside wants to take a look as well, it's fun to ride along on those kinds of things.
Right, and you can tell us what we're doing wrong so we can get the boss down.
Yes. So we'll be doing... Makia's not back this Sunday, though, is he?
No.
So we will not be doing Temple of Sacrifice this Sunday, but next week we'll be doing some Temple of Sacrifice, and we'll be trying to clear the whole thing. And I bet we'll be able to do it, but you can keep an eye on what we're doing and watch us fall off our first time trying to run up the stairs when we get to the Revan fight.
Yeah, right. The Mario boss.
And finally, in Guild News, Seema and I got on the AIE podcast, which has, again, the overarching guild has a podcast that's done weekly, and we switch off game divisions that come on and talk about their game. Every once in a while, we go on for SWTOR. We get a couple of our officers out of Star Wars and go on and talk about Star Wars. So that was fun this week. That should be either published already or shortly. And
yeah, we try to update the rest of AIE on what's going on in SWTOR, the game, as well as what we've been doing in the guild.
Yeah, so that is cool. But with that, I think we can talk about what we are doing here on Rishi.
Deep in the ancient, monster-infested tomb of Marka Ragnos, there is a holocron filled with dark secrets and encased in a great stone monument.
So today's podcast is a little bit different for people that are just downloading it. We are streaming live, and this is sort of a first time. It may never happen again. We'll see how it turns out. I'm already noticing I'm quite distracted. So
Might be first and last.
Gonna have to get better at it if we're going to keep it up. But we are on Rishi, streaming live, actually streaming some of the game live also from Rishi, and we are looking at a place where there should be a Graphet spawning soon. So this is step 1 in the Rishi Datacron chain, and that's what we'll talk about tonight and what we'll go through. There's plus 10 Datacrons on Rishi. That's interesting. It's each of the 4 main stats, and there's a little bit of a puzzle quest chain that you need to go through to get to them. The first step is there's 3 rare Graphets that spawn. They're rare champion Graphets. You need to track them down. And along the way, as you do this, you're getting a bunch of achievements and things like that too, and some extra fun things that show up on the side. There's a legacy title that shows up. So here we've got another jungle Graphet that just spawned for us. The problem is I've been doing this now for at least an hour, hanging out here on Rishi, looking for this Graphet number 1 to spawn at this location, and I've not seen it. What should happen is every once in a while a champion Graphet should spawn. You kill that champion Graphet, and then what you're going to get off of that is a data packet. It's an item that shows up in your inventory. You want to hold on to those. You can trade those. When we do this as a group, we may spread out and try to go after all 3 at the same time. The respawn on the Graphets are once every 4.5 minutes. So you might need to sit around for a while, and as I can see here, quite a long while in trying to get the rare one to show up. Once it does, though, you get that data packet, and you need all 3 data packets off of all 3 rare Graphets. So that's step 1. So once we have that, Seema, then what happens? What's step 2?
Well, show them what the data packets look like in your inventory.
I don't have any.
Oh, I thought you got the first two.
No, I haven't gotten
You
to any
started
of
with
them
this
yet.
one?
I started with this
Oh,
one, and I've been sitting here for like an hour and a half now, killing this thing once every four and a half
oh, I had
minutes.
no idea. Because I joined Max here and I thought, oh, this is the third one. He's already done the other two. Okay, no.
Nope.
So there's there's two others that you have to two other little Groffets that you have to get. And then step two is the Crystal Skulls. Um, First, you have to watch the Indiana Jones movie. Wait. No, you don't have to.
Yeah,
But you
you don't
find the
have to,
skull
but
on
I'd
the
recommend
slave
against it.
island. You have to ride the crate. Did you say you do recommend that movie or you
No, I
don't?
would not recommend it.
No, I don't recommend that
It
movie
was,
either.
I mean, I like Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones is awesome. So because it's still Indiana Jones, it wasn't completely irredeemable, but it was close.
I loved the Indiana Jones movie, the first one.
Yes.
Um, then I thought they took in the subsequent movies they took everything that was good about that I liked in the first movie and removed that part and just left everything out. But anyway, tell them what you really think. Find the skull on Slave Island, which you have to ride the crate to do, and then
Yes.
you eat the packets. Is that the packets that you collected from the Groffets?
Yeah, you got to click on all three of them. So you need all three of those packets to be clicked on, and you get a buff off of all three of them, which then gets you access to the skull and the ability to get the next buff off the skull. So that's
Cool.
why
So
you
then
need all three of those packets. You need to kill all three of the Groffets first. Then you get to the skull. You're able to click the skull. That moves you on to step 3.
only one person has to have the packets, but that person has to have all three. But they are tradable, as I understand it, when they drop from the Groffets. So you can just make sure one person has all three.
Yeah, and in fact, as we talk about this all the way to the end, only one person needs to get all the way to the end to open up the datacrons. If all you're looking for, if you're ignoring the achievements and all you want is the datacrons, you can just hang out where the datacrons are and see if someone comes along and opens it, or wait till someone in your guild cracks it open and then calls everybody to come down and loot the datacrons.
Oh, I like that idea. Why don't you call us when you get it, Max?
I may never get it. You know me and RNG. This is interesting. So step 3, after you get the 3 data packets off the Groffets, you go and click the Crystal Skull. Then you go back to Raiders Cove into the town. You find a bottle of pheromones, and you have to have the buff off of doing the skull step. Otherwise, when you try to get the pheromones, you get poisoned, and that doesn't really work. So after you find this bottle of pheromones, this is when you get the title, which is you get the text shows up on the screen that says you found a bottle of pheromones. They smell incredible. And then the legacy title is Incredible Smell Discoverer, which is, so if you've seen anybody with that title, that is where that comes from. Now someone is suggesting to us, oh wait, here's the Groffet again. Someone is suggesting to us as we're trying to hunt these Groffets that you might want to switch instances to check. There are reports, and I know they're trying to fix some of this. There are reports that some of these steps along the way are bugged. What you really want to do is do all of it on one character, make sure you're doing it all. But clicking the skull or clicking the pheromones, it could be bugged in some circumstances. And maybe this part that we're doing right now is bugged, since I have not seen a rare Groffet in forever. Anyway.
But you're not suggesting that switching instances would have anything to do with... Oh, there he goes. He went.
I switched instances. Well, if the rare one's not spawning here for some bug-ish reason, I don't know, maybe it'll spawn somewhere else. At least we can go and maybe it's spawned sooner than 4.5 minutes in the other place. So when I get here, you can catch up.
Yep.
So then, no, it's just a regular one here. You just stand here looking at me. So then after you get the bottle of pheromones and you've discovered the incredible smell, you need to take that bottle of pheromones to this unique rock formation. And now that you have both the buff from the Crystal Skull and the bottle of pheromones, now you'll be able to click on this rock formation in the next step where you find the rock formation. I forgot where it was. You'll have to look at a map to look it up. When you click on that rock formation, a blue beam will shoot down and show you the next place that you need to go, which is nearby. It's an anchored rock, and that anchored rock is where you're going to smash that place open and get the datacrons. And that's what the bottle of pheromones is for. So what you do then is you go to the anchored rock. You're able to click on the anchored rock, and because you have the good pheromones, a bunch of tentacles spawn, and they do not attack you because you have the pheromones. And instead, they attack the rock, they smash it open, and you're able to loot the datacrons. And again, anyone, including you logging in other characters, just making sure you're going to the right instance, anyone can then come, and your other characters can come and loot those. I don't know how long they stay open, but it stays open for a while. There's reports of somebody getting like 7 of their characters through at least. And you can get that plus 10.
I actually saw that happening one day, and it's in the main island, the first island that you go to over far to the west. And I was there doing dailies, and I was kind of heads down, click on this, gonna get that, what's that, blah, 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 blah. But I saw all these blue beams, and had I only known, I could have gone and gotten the datacron that day.
Yeah.
The datacrons, yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. So that's pretty much the key, and but really that's only one of the secret things that showed up in Shadow of Revan. We'll probably in a future podcast talk about a couple of things in more detail, but these achievements, as you go along the way, you're getting the achievements. There's a total of 250 achievement points that you can get out of doing this, and obviously getting plus 10 to all 4 of those stats: strength, cunning, willpower, and aim is interesting anytime you get in plus 10. So I don't have it yet. I think we do need to do it as a guild. That's going to be a good thing. But yeah, killing these Groffets seems to be the biggest challenge.
Right, the time challenge. I mean, because it really is a time investment to do stuff when you're waiting for these spawns. It's hard for me to keep my attention, in the zone.
Now, there are some other secret things that were secret achievements and mini quest lines that were released as part of 3.0. There's the obvious world boss on Yavin.
You mean the non-secret one?
Yes. So the Big Walker is one of the world bosses on Yavin. But this I wasn't completely familiar with. There's a second world boss on Yavin, but it takes again another sort of secret quest line to go and do that second world boss, which is somewhat interesting. Did you even know about that second world boss when
I know that it has to do with those Sith ghosts that showed up on Yavin in the daily area. You click on them and one by one, and then you go and find the boss but I don't know where, and I've never killed him.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
So clearly we have him on farm also.
Exactly. So one sec, I'm going to pull that up. That's the Rishi one. So the key guide that I have been using to look up the Rishi datacron and the Yavin boss has been Delphi. So the guides on Delphi for both of these are pretty good, and is something you can is a good set to go. She's got all the maps up there. It's an obviously good place to go after. So it's called the Ancient Threat. And I've seen these Force Ghosts also. So it's pretty interesting. First you need to go chase down each of the Force... First you need to go to Tatooine. And you need to get this tome off of Tatooine, which I think is interesting. In fact, if you're going to fight the summon the boss, everyone has to have the tome in order to be able to fight the boss. Only one person needs to complete the chain of talking to all the Force Ghosts to summon the world boss, but everyone has to have this tome off of Tatooine to fight the world boss. It shows up in a random place in the that Outlaw's Den, the PvP area on Tatooine. You get that tome, and you've got a debuff on you, or a buff, as the case may be. Then you go and you need to track down these 4 Force spirits on Yavin. Now, once you start tracking this down, the notes around this say make sure that you're doing all of this on one character, and as you go and touch each of these spirits and do their step where you talk to the spirit, and then you need to go after their talisman, don't leave the planet, don't log out, because that buff will go away. The buff will also only lasts for an hour. So you're going to sort of need to do this all in a chain as you're getting ready to go do the world boss. So you talk to the ghost, and associated with each of the spirits or the Force Ghost is also going and dealing with and clicking on their talisman as well. So the 4 ghosts are Tulak Horde, Exar Kun, Naga Sadao, and Marka Ragnos. So there are 4 obvious ancient Sith bad guys that you're dealing with. And these are then they have the 4 talismans associated with them. And those 4 talismans then give you the ability to click on the unknown talisman and the ancient threat then that spawns as part of that. And then that big boss will spawn. You do need a large group, just as you do for the Walker boss on Yavin. In fact, I don't know with that one. With the Walker boss on Yavin, I've taken that one down. We still had a full ops group, but it was early. Everybody was in 186, and everyone was dying quite a bit. There's the respawn point for that one, though, is very close, and I don't know for sure if it is off of this world boss. That would be interesting to know.
Well, but once you die on this boss, don't you lose the Tatooine buff? I mean, don't you only get the one chance to kill this guy?
That is a good question. I do not know for sure.
I know. For something that we have on farm, we have some gaps in our knowledge.
That would be a pain. I would hope not, but that could very well be the case. So this will be something else that we're going to need to try also. And I think we're going to do it again on one of our mandatory fun nights. I think this would be a fun one to chase down. But it's a very big world boss. It's got 15 million hit points. It takes at least 16 players. It's got a ton of knockbacks. They said a ton of knockbacks and pulls, much like the hateful entity in Nightmare Scum and Villainy, which we also did not do. But we probably could at this point, obviously, go back and do some Nightmare Scum and Villainy.
But first we have to, I mean, if we're going to do that fight, then we have to do the thing with Dreadtooth in Section X where we collect all the helmets for everybody, and
yes.
I think you need amulets too to summon him.
And that we have started collecting as a guild, so that's pretty cool. But yes, that would be fun to go back and do. And then this fight is obviously going to be much more difficult because it's at level. It's designed for level 60, much like the Walker fight is. But I don't think that the strat is too difficult if you're geared enough and you go after it. I think it's just a matter of dealing with his knockbacks and pulls and all of those kinds of things. A bunch of troopers and bounty hunters with hydraulic overrides or hold the line is the recommended approach, I think. the cheater way to do it. I love that. Hold the line. Hydraulic override. I use it all the time in the Underlurker fight so that I'm the last one standing there after he knocks everybody back. And I've noticed that you've started to do that too. That's pretty cool.
I use it if it's up. Sometimes I've already expended it because I was slow to get somewhere where I needed to be.
So that leads us to the final boss, which I have already mentioned. that I also want to bring up the guide for. I thought I had a link for this already. See, everybody in the chat room can see that this is the place where we edit something out.
Right.
Where is the guide for that walker?
Oh, that guy?
Yeah. Because we still have a couple minutes. We can talk about the walker too, which is a fun fight. Oh, Dolphy. I think it's under exploration achievements. No. But we can talk about those. So that also leads us to some exploration achievements on Yavin that you can get. So after doing that quest line, getting the achievements for talking to the Force Ghosts, you can go after the exploration achievements on Yavin, and there's a series of those. What you're doing there is you're mostly running around killing some of the elite and champion mobs that are standing around in various places, which equates to seeking these out, finding them, tracking them down. There's a series of Lance Squadron Imperial Walkers that you're going to go hunt down and destroy. So that is step one. And then there's another step where you're going to go find some rare mobs called Seeking Out Prey. The Elder Lurker is one of the final steps of one of the dailies. A bunch of the dailies have some of these champion mobs. Lord Darkspanner is one of the dailies for the devoted ones that's in that temple area of Yavin, where you have to summon him and fight him. After you desecrate the little shrine that's in the middle of one of those circles in the temple area.
Well, that's good because we have such a bad track record so far on rare spawns. At least those spawns will be there all the time.
Yeah, these are all just up all the time and guaranteed, or they spawn as part of the quest chain. So these are easier to make sure you get. There are a couple. So there's Lurker Alpha. There's a rare Lurker. There's a champion not rare champion Lurker. There's a champion Masasi that you kill in the middle of the Masasi village, which is also an excellent place to go do to go do scavenging. There's Masasi Crusher, who walks around the Temple of Sacrifice operation. There's the Masasi Roamers who roam around. Those you need to kill for one of the dailies as well. There's some Revanite Commanders, Revanite Overseers. I don't know what Rinthmer is, but there's a lot of consonants in his names. Rnthmyr. But you can go kill him, and he's a spawn at the end of the Altars of History daily. I didn't know he was called Rinthmer. The Rogue Masasi Brute, Stone Ray Matriarch. That's the big the Stone Ray that you need to kill at the end of that quest chain, and then one final Swamp Lurker. So once you kill all of those, then finally the string of achievements for doing all of the dailies is the second to last step for exploration achievements. And then you can do the one where you go and find each of the sensors that are around the training grounds. There's and the 5 tunnel, the 5 areas of Yavin. If you notice in the ground, there's those sensors that pop up every once in a while. Getting each of those sensors will tick off exploration achievements as well. And with that, you have wrapped up all of these little secret achievements around Yavin and Rishi, which I like. So I like that they've added this stuff to the game. I like that there's things you can find and do that are sort of a little bit outside of the ordinary.
I do too. I would like more.
Yeah, exactly. I would like more. I'd like more, and I like that I like something more than just a jumping puzzle, like the Macab Datacron, the Endurance Datacron, which kills me. But so I do like that it's more of a puzzle. This one with these rare graphits that we're still trying to hunt down here is quite difficult. But especially if you're going with a group, it makes this kind of thing quite a bit easier, and you can start collecting these things along the way. So what other kinds of achievements or exploration or little mini side hidden quests like this would you like to see, Seema?
Well, I mean, I like anything that gives you an opportunity to provide some individuality to your character. So, you know, pets, dyes as rewards. I'm talking about, and then I like you said, I like something that has some kind of puzzle content to it. Although I do like the jumping. I mean, when I first started doing Datacrons, I was terrible at the jumping, but I just did it until I got better, and now I really enjoy it. Um, so yeah, more jumping ones I'd be happy with. But I do like the things where you need to figure out along the way each little step. I would remove the RNG parts though. I mean, I realize that they use that as a way of injecting sort of a false difficulty so that you can't just run around the world and pick up everything on day one, but I don't find it enjoyable.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You can do that with RNG. Well, with data mining, it's a little difficult to keep anything secret. So I think that's part of the problem. You could make the puzzles more difficult and some of the things more hidden, but we've got some expert data miners in the community these days that it's very difficult to keep things from.
I mean, I don't mind that the puzzles are known. Like I was going through the macro binocular things the other day, and even though I've done them before and I technically somewhere in my brain I know all the puzzles, I would get to a certain point and I would go like, what was this one again? And sometimes I couldn't remember, and I would try a few things and then I would go look up the answer and then I would try that. I still think that's fun even if I'm looking up the answer. So I don't mind that the answers are out there. It's up to you whether you look them up or not.
I agree. I agree. But I think you called out one that specifically that's quite good, which is you can look it up or not, but the puzzles in the whole macro binocular line where you're going after the shroud are quite good.
Yeah.
I really like them. Yeah, they're also instanced, so you need to sort of go in and, into a controlled area where everything's reset and everything's is set. You're not going after anything rare spawns. And there's a little story that goes with it. I like the one where you go to, I think you go on Quesh, and there's the little blue elephant dude. Peach is his name. That's the right
Yeah.
Ortolan.
Ortolan, right?
The Ortolan, the evil Ortolan that you need to fight. So I like that there's some characters in there, and then the puzzles, yeah, they are quite good. So that's a great part of it. You're right. I would like to see more of that.
And even in the Secret Droid quest line, where there's some instance stuff where you have to go in and kill some things and do them in a certain order or chase somebody. And, I wouldn't mind if they made those things redoable so that you could go, like maybe the reward is you get um, a monkey lizard pet and it could be like a random color. So I would be incented to go back and do it again because I wanted to get the yellow one and I got the green one last time. I mean, even little things like that I would like.
That is a great idea. More incentive to repeat the content. But yeah, even just a different colored monkey lizard, different skinned monkey lizard, that would be a great idea.
Or if I could sell it.
Yeah. In our chat room, Super Baffle makes the point that he'd like to see discoverable datacrons in addition to the puzzle ones, more to reward exploration. And I definitely agree. That's the way datacrons used to work. And when the game first launched, it was interesting to go off, especially before there were guides and before there were maps for everything. It was interesting to go off and do a little exploration and actually come across a datacron that you didn't know was there and that you actually found. Now I feel like I know every inch of every planet, but that's